In the next lecture, we have Birgit Gebhardt. Birgit Gebhardt is a renowned researcher into trends, and her expertise is to bring together trends into scenarios which allow people to understand what these trends might mean for the future. In that respect, she is a very well sought after consultant, and in some of the studies supported by some of the most important institutions in Germany, for example, Körber-Stiftung, to just name one. I'm very happy that she's here and very much looking forward to her insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Enno. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's a long time already that I seek the contact to AAC, because I think the approach inviting students from all abroad and to discuss certain topics is a really valuable attempt. And I'm also the wife of Walter Gebhardt. And so I, through the years, I got always a little bit notion and of some of you, yeah, I'm happy to be here. It feels almost a little bit familiar to me. Yes, but I'm not an architect, although I studied interior design long time ago. I worked then as a journalist, and then I switched over to trend research, which brought up the spectrum for me. And I was in an office called Trendbüro. I worked there for 12 years, and we had questions from the consumer industry mainly, or automotive. For example, Audi asked us, how would a woman perhaps buy a car differently than a male customer? We had other questions like, is nutrition becoming a tool for optimizing our body and mental health? And also such sort of questions. So it was branch-wide, very widely spread. And 12 years long, I had every 6 or 8 weeks a new topic on my desk, which was very interesting. And after 12 years, I wrote a book, and I got a client, and the client asked an interesting question. The client was the association of all the office furniture companies in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. For example, Vitra, you saw a lot of examples of Vitra in the last presentation. They are part of this association. It's called IBA, IBA. .online, you find them in the web, and they didn't want to know from us how will the office look like in the future, which might be also your perhaps interest in the mind. They asked a more specific, and I found clever question. They asked, how will communication change in the office? Because when we know how communication is changing in the office, then we have enough super designers who can design this new sort of ways of communication. And actually, this term communication has changed and is one of the mainly drivers which has changed, in fact, the office. I started this research exactly 10 years ago. With the first study. This was the question about how is communication changing. After we did this, we realized, okay, if communication is changing from a top-down version of information, which a very few circle had, to many, to a non-hierarchical system, to social media, etc. How will this change the organization of a company and of the office in the end as well? So we were right away in the second study, and then it started to become more spatially driven. Then we had questions like, okay, what is the office space then if we have not these hierarchy top-down communication anymore, if the organization is becoming a network itself? How does it look on in the space? How do we approach the physical space knowing these changes? And then the idea was, what's the purpose of the office itself? Because we can work from everywhere. This was already clear before Corona. And then our idea was, should be a learning space. Should have a benefit, because when I do something at home and I can do the same in the office, there's no reason to go to the office. So the office Aufenthalt the stay in the office should be something different and should feel differently than when you work at home. So it could be a learning environment. That was our proposal. And nowadays you have all these in the new work area, when you're a little bit get and dig into it. It's what's the purpose of my work, what I'm going to achieve, how can I develop myself in work. So there's also a shift from what the company demands and gives you from tasks from towards what the employees want, how they can develop, what they strive themselves, and what they want to contribute, perhaps not only to the office but also to their purpose. Like Fridtjof Bergmann already started with his new work movement in Detroit, asking you, what do you really, really want? When we were here, it was 2016. I visited a lot of schools in Scandinavia, mainly because they have a better digital didactic. So it's not only that they give you iPads and let you work with iPads, but no, they really make up their minds, how can we change with the new media and all these digital tools, our collaboration, and also our being in physical spaces versus being in mixed realities versus being in a metaverse, or what's coming next in this issue. So also this is a special aspect we should now consider when we speak about new work and how work will develop in the future. And then I came to the individual, to everybody who wants to work, who feels a task and who wants to fulfill it. And I asked, when we have now so much tools which can approach or optimize our learning, when we have blended and augmented realities which give us information, and and also in the organization more fluent information, not only data-wise but also communication-wise, how does this affect our human behavior at work? And here I realized that we are completely stuck still in this industrial era, that we are socialized in an office world which has none of these elements really shown and really made for an experience for the employees. And I would say we are even today still stuck in this industrial era vision, which is blocking our vision for a new office, or what office could be next. Because this creative learning environment can look completely different than anything you have seen until now in Berlin or Dresden or presentations. It can be really, really, really different. And we can't imagine this as long as we say already office in our mind. We still stick directly in this industrial era structure. And so I tried to find out how do people learn? What is our program? How do we function ourselves? And I realized that we knew only a little. I asked neurologists, psychologists, so I really got into completely different fields than architecture here. It's also biologics, evolutionary scientists, and this is really interesting. And I brought you the studies here. There are always 4, so for every group you can fetch one. Those 2, they are in English. This is the newest, which will appear to Orgatec now. The furniture fair you already mentioned, being in Cologne, I think 26th something of October. And we are on the way of translating this also into English. So you can also download this at iba.online soon. Okay, let's start. Okay, I have a bad Z inside, I don't know why, but what I want to show you now are 4 chapters. following me now into this vision of a new office and what you could consider. So first, it is the view of a trend researcher. A little bit, how would I, perhaps a little bit black and white, show you and let you recognize the changes. Well, we started, and the office still is a relict of the industrial era, where everything was made about mass, people as a mass of people, people where you looked for average standards, for norms. All these regulations derived because our machines and production couldn't do otherwise to serve mass markets. We were not able to serve an individual and to point out the individual needs because neither the machines nor the data technology was available. So all our industrial era thinking was about many masses, and as you try to put as many inside, you look for an average, and then you make norms, and then we have this this desk with the monitor, which in fact also is something from this industrial era, because it comes from the workshops, from the fabrication industry, and the first offices you remember from Frank Lloyd Wright or whatsoever, huge halls where everybody was sitting in row, and frankly, you architects, you don't do much different. And I would question why you still are in this open space, sitting in the same row like in an industrial thing, and not going a step further into the multi-spaces in fact you are designing. But this is a question you could challenge yourself. I think that you are perhaps a little bit addicted in this idea of we are all together, we are so many, so there's also a thing of we have the power to change something instead of when everybody gets invisible. What is new is that we can serve the individual, that we can measure what the individual needs and desires are. In the market, in the consumer market, this is functioning very well. We have customer journeys, we can track, you have cookies on the web and so on. So we are very good in monitoring what the individual wants. We are also very good in the gaming industry, which is in fact something very interesting for the office and for work in the future, because when we think of a creative learning environment, gaming is something which motivates us, which brings us together, which can be happening virtually, but perhaps also in a mixed reality. And and in gaming, the gaming industry, as you might know, they had a problem because these games where you do a network gaming all over the world with several players, suddenly they were for free. That means you don't, as if you are a company developing those games, which is quite expensive, suddenly it was for free and you didn't have any business plan anymore. So then they said, okay, we have to track what our customers are doing, how they behave in the game, what they might need, when they can give them a stronger sword or whatsoever. And then they invented the in-app purchase. And that means these 79 cents for the strongest sword where you can win the battle you want. So, but to know this, you have to really be close to your customer and imagine, okay, is he already tired? Is he going to drop the game? How can we motivate him that he sticks on the game and that he will make a bargain even? They succeeded. We know the gaming industry makes more money than the whole cinema and music industry, including Netflix, together, already now. So, and they are able to do this. They are able to find out what the individual wants. And I ask myself, why don't we use this for work? Why don't we use this in schools to bring especially boys more addicted to what could happen, how they can achieve better notes in school? Because at the moment, in this frontal direction teaching system, the girls perform better, and I think it's a question of methodology and formats you are offering. So we could do much better, and we still stick in this era and try to find out. Also in the workshop later, we have the question: the more you see now, the more you work on your project, always ask yourself, is this still the old world I'm going to build here, or am I already in this new networked era? So because our work has changed, our tasks have changed, and what I do, for example, like for clients like Swisscom Immobilien, we went to the organization developers, to the HR, human resources department, and we asked for all the job families, the job descriptions, and then we filtered out what activities are behind each job description. What are they doing in the office? And then we thought, okay, and is this an activity we still do in the future? Human beings do in the future? Or is this something an algorithm can do? And when the algorithm can do this, how will human beings work together, and which tasks can be combined then? And how will the whole organization structure change due to this automatization of algorithms, artificial intelligence, which is for sure now already coming into the office and the workspaces. So we have more complexity for us in our work to do, and we have artificial intelligence as a tool or to support us here. We should work with more diverse partners, employees, because to solve problems which are complex, it is better to have various opinions, minds, and clusters. And we have the possibility to monitor also, or to track different behaviors and so on. In the working field, you have the demand of finding solutions, because the markets are no mass markets anymore, they are saturated. You have to find a special innovation, and this innovation can only be an innovation if it has a customer centricity, if it has a benefit for the user. And and like this already we use smart services like navigation systems which deploy the whole world under our feet, which is quite different than navigation through a map like we did in former times on paper, where we have to locate ourselves and then the way. Now today it starts directly under my feet, and it is my intention where I want to go, and it is all the situations which might happen on my special way now in this situation, which were given to myself by these smart services. So also this translated into my working tasks, which are complex, is a big help in fulfilling my tasks. And we have a skilled worker shortage, at least, I think in Europe already, in Germany very much. I think in China it starts already, but they have still enough people. But Japan is very strong in skilled worker shortage, Spain as well. So this will make it difficult, because we won't have the idea of we can order top-down something and it will be done. So it will be difficult for the old system, and there will be a new generation which is rising and saying, I want to work differently. At the moment, the new work is more no work or fewer work, is my interpretation. But I think this will change when this new generation and new workforce knows better what their inner impact and inner program of developing themselves is becoming. And the solution would be a user-centered experience. And all I'm telling you today about the future of the office is, if you can realize for the employees who go there and visit and work in this space that they feel a user-centered experience, then the office still has its meaning. Then they will come. Otherwise, the office can be lost, can be something which is perhaps a corporate hub decorated in a brand aspect, like you visited Nike or something like that. But this might take you perhaps for 2 or 3 years. This is nice, and you have Nike on your curriculum. But in the end, if this doesn't change something on your development, brings you personally, individually further, you won't be interesting for long on this. So this is not really sustainable. Sustainable is something what you feel, which makes a change in you, and which lets you perhaps participate at something which is bigger than what you can experience at home. And to my opinion, this is the only chance for the office. So we have this information idea, like here you see in Dr. Strangelove. This is a film from 1961, so far before you were born. But I think you still, you know what this means, these management circles, all men deciding for many what is to do. And then now in the network area, we have communication everywhere and on our fingertips. And as you have heard in the gaming industry, really in the way that you understand what you are doing. So you can really adopt the complexity thanks to artificial intelligence and monitoring. So you become capable of doing your job and capable of being developed by those informations and dealing with these informations. So, and this is a sort of map about new work where you can find the drivers and the areas. For example, in this part, in this quarter, we have more or less the things driven by an economic change. So that means less costs, more efficiency, and so on. So that you have all the flexibility on the floors. It should be more efficient in the costs, in the whole process of Betrieb, running, all the costs of the real estate, so on. So, and then here you have the open space as a solution, which derives a little bit from this economic thing. It was, yeah, I would say even sold to the employees as we do this for better communication. But in the end, I would say it was a sort of flexibility and efficiency on the floor. And then you have on the other side, here downwards, more towards the human work, you have the new thing which is called multi-spaces. So open spaces, I would say, is something which is going less and is changing into multi-spaces because the employees, they have realized, hey, you don't build this for me, you build this that you can manage the whole office in a better way, but this doesn't serve anything to me. I stay at home and then I feel more cozy and whatsoever. But when you build multi-spaces, like you have seen already some, where you have areas for better focusing or concentration, other areas really defined for having a nice meeting, having an informal get-together and designing this behavior that it happens in an experiential way. Those are multi-spaces and they should be defined by the activities the company or the employees should do in the office. And also the idea is they should not do the same here that they can do at home, because we calculate or take in concern that the home office will never stop again. It will probably even rise more and more. So you need to let happen something in these multi-spaces which you can't have at home. This is diversity on the floors. This is this activity-based working. Do you know what activity-based working means? Okay, so because this is important when you have this organizational change. Normally an organization is divided into divisions and departments. You have the marketing, you have IT, you have real estate, and so on. If you change this into a new agile working style, agile work means you have sort of a faster sports boat, and you take one from the marketing, one from the IT for programming. So from every department or division, you take some in this boat, and they do a project together. So it is mainly working on project with different expertise from the same company, or even perhaps taking some from external together. And the idea is that this boat is faster than if we still stick to these divisions where first they do this, then they give their result to the next department, then they do something, and so on. So it took too long. It started at the IT sector because when they said we do a software, and until every department was done, the software was already too old to be implanted because the needs have already changed. So and the demand for being faster and more dynamic at work is not only a question for the IT companies. So this agile working, and it's called agile working, these boats are called, they do a sprint, they do a scrum, all those are methods for those agile working styles. And they, like I said, they are not in the IT only, they go on to other companies as well. And activity-based working needs then, when they have this project, this team group, they normally have a home zone in the office. That means they defined their activities they have to solve for the tasks. So do we need to concentrate? Do we need to collaborate together on screens? Do we need how many screens? How big have to be the screens and so on? So they designed their home zone inside the office. They arranged all the facilities to be in good shape to do this project fast, dynamically, and in their team. And once a week, every marketing guy, every programmer and so on met with its department guys, exchanging what they have learned. So also learning-wise, this is much more fruitful than staying in a division and doing the same every day nearly. Okay, and it gets more complicated because we have the social change, like I said already, labor scores and so on. So we said, okay, we have to take in concern more your needs, the needs of the employees. What is your individual work style? Okay, you can work when you want, you can work from where you want. This is the status at the moment, because they know they can't. Some try to command them back to the office and say, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're here, the rest you can go wherever you want. But I think this is not done for the future, good for the future, because due to the labor scars, the people won't say, no, I don't want to be dominated and told by you how I shall do my working agenda. So all the power, which was on the employer first, who did all these floors economically, goes more to the people, asking them how they want to work and so on. And it's a big problem if the people don't know how they work and how they can work better. So at the moment they experience a lot of freedom of choice of workplaces, and they should experience this to learn how they better function. And they started in the home office, and the bad fact was they did the same in the home office like in the office, and that's why it's not fruitful for both. But I think this is a learning curve, like we said in the trend research, and there is technology which will help us again. And this is meant by this adaptive work, because like I told you, in the gaming industry, you have monitoring, tracking, and so on. We will have our smartwatch telling us, hey Birgit, your concentration is going flatter, you should do a pause, and my biorhythm, and it is matched with my agenda when I shall fetch my children, and so on and so on. So work-life balance, which has never happened really until now, can happen when the power shifts towards the employees, and the employees are technical-wise so equipped that they know better what they need. It's a little bit scary that we have to listen to a smartwatch telling us how we feel, but it's perhaps also as when we functioned all the way long in this old office era, that's the way it is in the end. But we can learn with the technology showing us transparently, and perhaps we can realize if it's true or not. And then there will be the metaverse, and there will be more spaces to experience ourselves. And the question will be bigger: in what spaces do you, which activity, things we learn at the moment here, we got a little bit troubled here, and we get the help in the smart service direction, how to handle it in the future. So this is a little bit the development it's going to take. And the problem now is that the office has no plan. It's really sad, because what they offer is, okay, they say we want to be a place where people can better work than home. So we have ergonomic chairs, and we have in the future bigger monitors and so on. So this old idea of sitting on a desk in a sort of industrial way, everybody is same, even also hierarchically, all the same. And then they said, and then we have this, and then we have spaces for coming together, for exchange and so on. And I think, okay, this you can have at home. We will have our ergonomic chairs, or we have perhaps voice recognition, and then we go for a walk and we speak with our business partner, and I have all the informations in my contact lens. I mean, we speak about some years in the future this will happen. You have already ski glasses where you can go skiing, and you have all the map and the navigation on your ski glass. So come on, this is already happening now. This will be very fast in the working field, and that means if this is the answer of the office, how the office will be in the future, this is just nothing. So it's 1/3 is already optimistic, I would say, and also the idea of this is how they should then work together. It is functioning already better than the office. This is Deloitte in Amsterdam, in the building The Edge. I visited this. And here you have a booking system. That means you find your desk. This is not your desk, but of somebody was before and so on. And here find your team if they are here or there. The idea of this office is still we manage they always manage the whole procedures, and they can't realize that it's slipping out of their control because people have social media. They find their teams themselves. They go perhaps in a coffee shop and not on this upper desk here to find themselves. And that means also I can't be sure that I get a desk here, but I can be sure that I have my desk at home. So shall I commute to find a desk here, which was perhaps is a disaster when I find it because it's not ranged or I have coffee drops and everything, or shall I stay at home? So these offerings, I would say, they are not the end of the ladder. And the problem is that they are still number crunching people who try to reorganize the office now, and they stick to their formulas of dividing space into headcount. Now they say, okay, we have to have desk sharing or this hot desking because this will enable us to be flexible with everybody who's coming or going. But this is no attraction for the people who should come back. And an office building which is only frequented 2 days instead of 5 or even 7 possible days isn't sustainable at all, no matter how many labels you plug on it. And this is how the open spaces have looked. This is also Otto. Otto is a big company. They sell themselves. We do the IT change and so on. And then they had open spaces. This is the way through this open space area, and directly on this way through there is this cabin for having a private intimacy call. And otherwise these are such-called touchdown working places. So you can't be sure that you find your place, or perhaps you have to prepare something. Okay, take this chair, take your laptop, show something. It looks like a nice photo, but also here in the back is the running zone. You are directed. Okay, there's your laptop, but there's directly the front. There's a wall in front of you. There's no side, no view, nothing. And this is contradictory to all our natural evolutionary memory. So in our subconsciousness, something is working against it. Something is always telling you, there's something in your bag, there's something in your bag, you don't see it, and you even see in front of you because there's a wall, which should be really the other way around. You need the wall in your back, and you need the view. This is since we went from the savannah. This is in our memories still today, and we don't plan this in the offices. So we are completely efficiency driven for the space itself and not for the people. And this is my client, Yuri. He says, okay, maybe it's worth building more expensively when we gain more in the user efficiency. If we increase it perhaps only by 10%, it would be worth building more expensively. He realized, and at Swisscom, only 40% of the Swisscom office buildings are frequented now. 40% of the whole Swisscom offices they provide for their employees. So that means really that he said we don't need decoration now. We don't need nice design chairs. We need something which has an impact. And that's what I mean, create an experience, give the feeling that I rise there's something bigger where I can take part, and so on. It's the question, why am I here? Why did I come here all the way long? And what do I want to learn here? That's the question. What's in for me is the typical question of the next generation asking when they speak about new work. What's in for me, and not only for this company? So, experience is the big topic. And it is about, in the notion of work, how we can collaborate and learn better together. That's a question for you, because now at the moment we do all the same. We are at home sitting in video conferences, we go in the office and we're sitting in little cabins in video conferences. This is ridiculous, but we do everything in video conferences. We have the Miro board, do you know this? Where you can also do creative workshops and so on. When you have experienced this is great. Then you can answer the question. When it's about having a creative brainstorming, would you do this with your team in a room like this? Or would you do it on let's say it's a Miro board because you know this and you experience this sort of workshop. Where would you do it to have a better result, and why do you think you have the better result? Yeah. 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 Anybody who would has an advantage in the Miro board? No. Okay, but yeah. Miro board advantage? Yeah. Why? It's quicker to have a result. Okay, but creative brainstorming or doing a work which has already a concept which is already there, also creative. Okay, okay, okay. What was your impression? Yeah, sure. There are studies in US saying the same like you too, and I have first I explain this and then I say something to your comment. They say that working in front of a monitor is good for focusing because already our whole behavior and direction of cognitive direction is focused on this monitor. So for focus work, this brings us already into the intended behavior, if you want, and also way of thinking. But for brainstorming, you have to enlarge the scope. You have to take be inspired by something, or even a disturbance can be a contribution, and so on. And as you said, also I see everybody in a brainstorming, we feel more exposed because we should say perhaps something which sounds silly. So also the light, which is less bright, helps, feeling a little bit more cozy and saying something almost out of the dark. And then also, if you have these lamps pendular instead of on the floor, there are studies saying that the noise in the room diminishes. So it is less noisy when you have lamps which are hanging instead of lamps which are the neon ceiling in the ceiling directly. Yes, so it's more feeling confident, not being too exposed. Here, there are experiences. This is not a study, this is an experience I have from also a friend who said, it is very quick in having post-its with keywords there. This goes faster than in a space like this. But the content on this on this post-its, it's perhaps less good, and it makes you feel, okay, I've contributed 5, now it's your turn. I'm off. I'm going making a coffee. So you even slip the room and come back and don't know what has happening, and all the energy which is created here, even if it's perhaps the energy like, hey, come on, we still have nothing on this wall, but everybody came, we should do something like that, can be an energy which evokes in the end something. And here you get the impression you have a lot on the wall, but the question is it the right stuff which is there, and has everybody really been challenged what is on the wall, or are you easily satisfied, like they're hanging 15 post-its, okay, fine, we finished, it's fast. Yeah, that could be tricky. That's the idea. And so what I want to say with this is that we should not the physical space is something which has a power, and we should really, as architects, you should be aware of this power, and especially when you create now working spaces. It determines 16% of the user's learning success, probably perhaps even more. This is what has been proven by studies, and that means that also color complexity means that it doesn't look all similar, but there are sort of multi-spaces, different areas. That flexibility means that you can arrange something still like you want it, or you can even possess a desk. It's your desk, and you can decorate it, and you feel more addicted to this place and this workplace then. And then you have all these climate things like lighting, temperature, and air quality. This is Colin Allard. I unfortunately only met in a video conference, but he told me, you know what the most interesting thing is, that first, humans are not only brains and rats, but and yeah, we are social. Absolutely, we have our herd instinct. We do what the others do. If there is somebody there in the room, we try to adapt to this radiant audience. But we are also territorially inclined. And that means we try to mark our spaces, or we try to see spaces like something which is it mine, or is it your, or is it occupied, or can I go there, or can I change it? Space is already something we are into. And also the spaces, he was the one who also told me about the evolutionary prospect and refuge. That means having the view in the front and the backward, because in Bottichen. Es sind nicht einfach nur Gehirne in Bottichen. Ja. Was heißt denn das noch? In Eimer, in basins, vats like basins. Yeah. And this is these are there are several studies lying behind, telling you what nature or can evolve or provoke or stimulate when you are in spaces. So that means there is nature in the space itself, or there are analogies to nature, and that can, you see here, it's good for circadian rhythm, or it lowers down your heart rate. So this plus and minus in this consequences means what is happening, but in the end everything is positive. So it is incredible how nature and also light reflections like coming from water, even of tapestry, which are only photos of a forest, something like that, can evoke something. There are studies made in clinicals, in medicine areas, in reha clinics and so on, and it is really proven in a medical way. So I think this is interesting, not to have it all over the office, but look, when you think of multi-spaces, what shall be experienced where, and then this can be a next experience. And also the idea of this African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, has something you can translate somehow in the office, because a village, there are different capabilities, different professionals, different houses, farms, workshops, sources, baking houses, everybody does something different, and altogether it becomes something rich and for survival of a community and for contribution of everybody. So this is a school in Denmark who is addicted to this concept. And I think we could learn a lot in these cultural settings, because when our work gets complex and we have to deal with a lot of abstract things, we have a multi-space, and we should really easily understand what is, how do I have to behave here, or how can I now let this happen in a more smooth or beneficial way. So this is from Dr. David Thornburg, a sociologist from the US. He realized certain cultural patterns. They derive sometimes like mountaintop from the landscape, like Moses, you have them in religion, you have them translated in every culture as you want. This is what I do here. Everybody, it's clear that it's me speaking and you are sitting. We have a hierarchy, a strong hierarchy here visibly. Differently when I would be in a cave trying to concentrate myself over my stuff and being completely calm. Or we have the campfire in the indigenous people. And the campfire is not only a circle with this pedagogical circle of chairs. Interesting in the campfire is that there's a light in the middle. And the idea is that everybody speaks equally, has the right to speak. And the others who are listening are also watching, because the light source in the middle is illuminating the faces. So you listen what somebody is telling you, but you can regard all over the faces how this is conceived, or how they follow, or if they agree, or if they disagree. This is already visible without speaking about it. So also this can enhance a certain way of achieving a task, when you know how you can, with which method you come there, you go there. This is the watering hole. This is the informal acquaintance where you accidentally bump into other people's and say, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this and that topic. And then this is from Rosanne Bosch. This is a Danish designer who said, I also need something to make it visible, or to build it, so that I get the combination between body and mind. And this is what you now can do with two-dimensional plans, three-dimensional printing, or even building by your hands a concept, and so on. So this making visual what you are doing is the last one. And now I was in Silicon Valley, and I visited Adobe, and I met Lacey Arslan, who was their workplace experience designer. Good title, I found. And she said, yeah, we do these experience multi-spaces, and we even distinguish between spaces and the uses visually, haptically, and acoustically. So they define the multi-space in those really sensual dimensions people can do for defining a space. And in order to facilitate the changes for our brain, we also design the transitions, so that you really realize, okay, this is a different atmosphere than doing here, and what I do here is a different task that I do here. So multi-space is not only functional, multi-space has a lot to do with atmospheres. Another approach for designing such a multi-space or arranging it is that you create a marketplace. You also mentioned the idea of a city. And I think this is important because not only that we have these private zones and these public zones, but also that you have a floor plan and you let a lot of things happen there, but you divide them also acoustically, and you divide them also team-wise in the meaning of how many people are in which spaces and for what. For example, you have arrival and exchange, which can be a coffee bar and a sort of marketplace. Here are perhaps already workshops happening where you can have a look and be inspired. And then these workshop spaces can be morphed into more teamwork or meeting spaces. And here it gets calmer, really. You have these concentration areas. And that means that you have a floor which has qualities of a city, of different types of a city, and you can arrange the multi-space also in a way which is not strange to us, but which enhances our natural strolling around spaces. So, and now I have, I'm already over the time, no? I have 6 charts which are quite important, where you should perhaps do some notes, because they summarize the human qualities where you can dig into to characterize your atmosphere or to evoke a certain atmosphere. For example, like I introduced already, activity-based working and ergonomically working. This is the Clay Marker's workplace, so a workshop for tailors in the Baroque era. And it is funny because they sit on the table right towards the light. These big windows were very cozy at that epoch. It is also interesting that the handcraft thing is done directly in the shop where the client is coming, and they are sitting there not in a backyard somewhere hidden or in a cellar even. So that appreciates their work. They can direct the lighting with their hat and so on. So and they notice what the client is saying, so they have the customer centricity as well in their workplace. I think this illustrates activity-based working and client centricity in the best way, and we have never achieved ever a better situation today in our offices. Then we have territorial and evolutionary qualities. Like I already said, prospect and refuge means this wall in the back or mountain in the back and view in the front. You have seen galleries at Zalando, but nobody could sit on these galleries and having a view, for example. So these are all ideas where you can design your multi-space, but not in an efficient way towards the real estate, but towards an efficient way of the person who is working. That means also the evolutionary memory is always on. We have inherited this, and it is a wasted energy if something all way long works against our working behavior. Spaces limits transmit codes is something which I wanted to tell you here as well. This is a school in Denmark, and at that school there are only pupils who have already failed in gaining their baccalaureate. And as they have failed once in a school, this school said, here should nothing look like a school, because when you come in a space which reminds you to a space where you had a horrible experience, it costs you so much energy to overcome this, to do it better now. So they said rooms have codes. Also, when you have a meeting, a bad meeting in a space, you should almost do something with this space before you again go into a new meeting inside, because it still is in this space, and the codes are noted by our memory. Then you have the social and anthropological way. That means you're looking for the herd instinct. Where do I belong to? Am I inclusive or am I welcomed? Yeah, included or not? And also the idea of when you're in the same room, also striving to adapt to the community. So there are a lot of younger generations going for concentration into libraries, into the reading room. Because when you enter this, it's already completely quiet, although there are a lot of people doing the behavior and work you want to do already. And as they do it already, this energy almost swaps over you, and you are immediately in the same mood. So there's a sort of mood management you can direct with these 6 chapters I'm showing you. These are inviting spaces. This is also a university, Columbia University for medicine. Then biological and physiological. I showed you the diagram already with all the studies. Here you have water, which is reflecting nature and so on. So this is all about climate, light, color, naturalness. Also nutrition, also the idea of doing perhaps a walk after lunch, also invent new rituals in your working day at the office. Also the digestion, your metabolism, if this is just by a little walk, this helps to concentrate easier and to be less fatigue. Also these inside-out relations towards nature, towards sunlight, this is something which is almost a precondition. But we should design this. It's your task to ensure that this precondition is there. And then it's interesting because we have brain waves. When we do different tasks, we have different brain waves which are on, I would say. For example, he is a sort of daydreaming. He's looking into nature, doing nothing, similarly. But he's dreaming. He's not really focusing. And when he's dreaming, he has alpha waves. They are very low, almost in this dreaming status. And then only in this alpha wave status, several neuro synapses are linking together, finding themselves. They wouldn't do this if you would be focused on a white sheet of paper. It's only when you are in sort of a dreaming thing. Also, when you dream at night, our brain is tended to solve some problems for you. Our brain is really a great thing. It really tries to give other connections a space which might solve the problem you couldn't solve during the day while your alpha waves haven't been on, and you had no chance to meet these other synapses. So, and this can be enhance people to work in different brain waves. For example, the most energy-wise concentration waves are gamma waves, but they only appear when you are on a task and when the task is really challenging and you want to solve it. You really are highly motivated and you forget that you are already sitting for 2 hours there trying to scribble and so on. And after a while, after 2 hours, and nobody should disturb you in this period, you're flying. It's really it is called also the flow. And then it's almost a genius experience you have then. But unfortunately, only when you have two hours minimum time where you're not disturbed. So that means in the office, this will never happen. And perhaps it only happens to a few in the everyday work. What we do all the day long is beta waves. So that is in between. It is a sort of energy saving concentration level, but not too exhausting. And if you know this, you could try to enhance this and try to find a surface or environment where you could go into these waves. And the last one is for sure the media, the sixth sense, the sixth of our senses, because your smartphone already is your sixth sense. It is really enlarging our space of imagination, of exploring the world, understanding, and also of feeling capable in doing things. So On the biological way, our cells for orientation, they are already diminishing the more you use the navigation tool, the smart services. The more the biological senses are going lower. But in fact, I wouldn't say it's a problem, because you gain such more vast of information and insights into a world which was far away and even not capable for your orientation sense to manage. So you gain much more than you lose. And to realize that and to work with that and to expand our capacities due to these smart tools, this is the navigation system is just the start. So, okay. And the last one is just for imagination, just a few images. Remember that knowledge work is information, inspiration, and imagination. And like I said, also virtual realities might create working spaces and offices how you would perhaps dream of or what you could imagine. And even they are built in a cineastic way, like this library by MVRDV in China, where you have the books which can be found here. So you have the experience of strolling like a little mice through an archive. So I think it's also interesting when we spoke about gaming. Imagine an office in a more fantastic, challenging, inspiring way, where you really do something in the space and where the space tells a story about what you could do with itself. And that also means that the office and the multi-spaces can be a landscape. It can be here a cafe, it can be there a town hall, it can be a media wall into a certain extent, and so on. So I think also the idea of monitors, how can we implement digital tools and media into the office, is something we should take in concern. So there's the environment and our perception, our 5 senses expanded through the smartphone and the smartwatch and all the things which tell us about our position in space and time, which is interesting for work. And we have this interaction which becomes an experience. We have this imagination which we can now transform into an impact. And that means that I think these working worlds go into learning worlds. And again, one perhaps abstract chart here. We have this bodily experience. That means what you feel right now here in this room. It can be your physical body, it can be your inner stomach, it can be the energy of the others, the organics around you, the smell from outside, and so on. And then there comes the augmented layer. We don't have it now. We have it on these ski glasses, perhaps next season, but this will come for sure. We have the mixed realities already with the glasses, with the Oculus Rift, and we have the virtual experience and going into the immersive. That means where we're really in the gaming and where we are trying to fly, and we only get irritated when we see our foods, because then we really feel sick, because our brain is always trying to work bodily and readjust us in all the senses he's sending. And if there's an illusion trying to contravene, it can create a problem. But we are really on the beginning. But for building trust, I would say these until here is essential, as long as you really get back reassured to your body and reassured about your position. And concerning imagination and a fantastic experience, this is in the same way valuable and interesting, and there's a much of I would say music in it, if you think of how offices can change, because you don't only see this office as okay, there's a platform where we can meet. Imagine on all the informations you have on your contact lenses, all the things you're working. Do a promenade, do chill rooms. This is also a school. This is a bank. Interesting, huh? This is a bank where they, and this is a university, and this is a cultural center. So you see places for meeting in every branch, every sector. And so I think also the idea of a new world of work is as actually an old one. You have Aristoteles and Platon, leaders and followers. You have touchdown working places. You have agile work because they are moving from one garden to the hall to the restaurant. And we saw a little bit similar thing in a competition by Ole Scheren for Axel Springer Campus, where it is clearly that it is self-directed. You go there, like in a big urban environment, you choose your team, you choose your workplace, you know what you want to do now in this situation because you know why you have chosen this area. And you can do this because the work has come to yourself, all the digital tools, the smartphones, the contact lens, augmented realities. And so there's no need that you have this industrial era workplace anymore. You collaborate virtually, you make you can rebuild Pompeii, and also I think these esports arena can be interesting for the office because there can be people who watch how the best coder is solving the problem, or when we are more in a gaming task, there can be people around looking how he's doing this, how is he doing best. So also this is something which can, towards the gaming industry, be interesting in our office. And the two last sheets, this is what I found when I visited the Rijksmuseum. They restored the Nachtwache, the night watch by Rembrandt, publicly. That means they did it directly inside the museum. They built a glass cubus around it, and then you could watch as a museum a visitor what they are doing and how digitally these sheets are taken down and so on. So this was quite interesting and took a lot of interest by the visitors themselves. And the other way around, I would say the office itself should be sort of a stage where you develop, where you try to play new roles, solve complex problems with diverse other people, and develop in a way, in an experienced way that you can't do at home and where you need this special location for. That's the idea. Okay. Yeah, perhaps we should just take some questions before we try to go to the workshop. I don't think I can do all the questions I prepared for the workshop, but still we will do some until lunch. Exhausted. What an Yeah, perhaps you could directly switch and then we see. Can we do a campfire? Yeah? Yeah, let's do this.